Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sets video, this time featuring Poliwrath. Now this will be the second Poliwrath video that I have on my channel, though the first one that I made was more or less just an homage to Pokemon Stadium, as opposed to actually being a more competitive serious set. But for today, I have three Poliwrath sets for you that are all pretty cool, at least I think so, and so I hope you enjoy. So let's get looking at its typing, abilities, and stats. So first off, I just want to apologize because the background picture and the font don't really match up that well, so if anything's difficult to read, just bear with me. But for the typing, Poliwrath is one of the only Pokemon that possesses the water fighting typing, which is very unique, and up until 5th gen it was the only Pokemon that had it. However, with the release of Keldeo, it is now one of two Pokemon that have this typing. But as for the abilities, the first one that Poliwrath gets is Water Absorb, which is an ability that not only gives Poliwrath a water immunity, but also allows it to recover 25% of its health every time it's attacked by a water-type move. Its second ability, though, is Damp, which is really not as useful as Water Absorb, due to the fact that even though it does make it so that your opponents can never explode or self-destruct on you, Explosion and Self-Destruct were severely nerfed in 5th gen, so you're not really going to be having to worry about them as much as you might have previously had to, making Damp much more of a less useful ability. But as for its Dreamworld ability, Poliwrath is fortunate enough to get Swift Swim, which doubles your speed under rain, and that's amazing for Poliwrath because one of its lacking stats is its speed, so having this ability to increase that under rain is really great. But speaking of its stats, Poliwrath has excellent defenses with 90 base HP, 95 defense, and 90 special defense, meaning that any physically defensive or specially defensive set for Poliwrath can be very good because it can take hits very well from both sides of the spectrum. As for its attacking stats, it has base 95 physical attack, which is pretty good, and it also gives Poliwrath some good attack to use with all of its physical moves, as well as a base 70 special attack, which is a little bit less significant because obviously it's lower than its physical attack, but again it has a lot of special moves to make use of with this special attack, so even though it is the lesser of the two attacks, it is still a useful one and a viable attack set to use. But lastly, Poliwrath has base 70 speed, which is pretty average, I guess, for the most part, though it means that Poliwrath without Swift Swim won't be really outspeeding a lot of things, which is a little bit unfortunate, but honestly, Poliwrath has a lot of options to use, so it can definitely, make use of the 70 base speed even with a more defensive set. With that, let's get to the first set that I have for you today. So first off for the set, we're going to start by giving Poliwrath an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack, and then we're going to be going with the ability Water Absorb as a way to give us an immunity to those water-type attacks. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into our physical attack, 4 into special defense, and then 252 into speed to give us our highest speed and our highest physical attack possible. And as for the item, we're going to be making use of Leftovers as a way of recovering a little bit of HP every turn, and to work in combination with Substitute, which will obviously be taking away some HP every time we make one. But for this moveset, it's basically meant for Poliwrath to act in the same way as Breloom does. So first we're going to be using Hypnosis as a way of putting our opponents to sleep. Now Hypnosis does have some shaky accuracy, being only 60 base, so it's not as reliant as say Spore on a Breloom, but it still can hit and be very annoying for your opponent because once something is asleep, you can set up a free substitute with Poliwrath, which is amazing due to the fact that you can combine Substitute with Focus Punch, which gets Stab on Poliwrath since it's also a fighting type, and will in turn be very powerful. Now, unlike Breloom, however, Poliwrath actually gets better coverage with its Stab typing being Water Fighting, whereas Grass Fighting with Breloom isn't really as useful because Poison types completely wall it. But with Waterfall, in combination with Focus Punch, you get some really good type coverage with Poliwrath and can be very powerful once you're behind your sub, because your opponent is basically going to be fearing the Focus Punch the whole time. And also, if something wakes up, you can just put it to sleep again. So overall, this set is basically just a Breloom but Poliwrath, and even though Poliwrath doesn't have as accurate as a sleep move as Breloom does, it's still very useful and a set that I wanted to show off just because I feel like a lot of people forget that Poliwrath can do something like this, and it's a really cool thing to run if you want to change up the norm from what Poliwrath usually does. As for this next set, we're going to be going with the same nature and EV spread as before, but we're going to be making use of the ability Swift Swim, which is its Dreamworld ability this time. So first, we're going to start by giving Poliwrath an Adamant nature again to increase its physical attack and lower its special attack, and then giving it 252 attack EVs, 4 special defense EVs, and then 252 speed EVs to give us its highest speed and highest physical attack possible with the Adamant nature. And this time we're going to be going with a Life Orb as a way to increase the power of our moves every single time we attack, though with the 10% life reduction you get from using a Life Orb every time you hit with a move. But for those moves, the first one we're going to be making use of is Rain Dance as a way of obviously setting up rain, making our water type attacks more powerful, and activating our ability Swift Swim. And this is something that Poliwrath is able to do very well due to the fact that it has such great defenses that it will most likely be able to take a hit from anything and set up Rain Dance, which is amazing. So with that, we're going to be first going with Waterfall as our main water type option to use, which will obviously be boosted as well with Rain Dance, and also with our Swift Swim ability allows us to flinch things since we'll be outspeeding them. So this is probably the main attacking move of the set just because it's boosted by a lot of things and has that extra flinch chance. But with that, we're also going to be going with Brick Break to hit from our stab fighting side as well. And this is obviously really great because of that secondary effect of getting rid of screens, and it's probably the best physical fighting type move that Poliwrath can go with, aside from Focus Punch. But since we're not able to set up subs to allow us to Focus Punch as easily, Brick Break is probably the best fighting option we can use. And for the last move slot, we're going to be making use of Ice Punch, which is now possible because of the Black and White 2 move tutors. Originally, since Ice Punch was a 4th gen TM, or move tutor move, I'm not sure which, it couldn't run its Dreamworld ability Swift Swim with that. But now it can, so that's really awesome and makes a Swift Swim set on Poliwrath that much better to give it some more coverage, which is really cool. But that's it for this set, so let's move on to the last and final one of this video. So for this last set, instead of going with a physical one like the previous two sets, we're actually going to be making Poliwrath a special attacker here. So we're going to start by giving it a modest nature to increase its special attack but lower its physical attack, and then we're going to be going with the ability Water Absorb again. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into HP to give us our max HP, 252 into special attack to give us our highest special attack possible, and then 4 for speed to give us 1 little point into that to allow us to outspeed things with the same base speed as us if they didn't put any speed investment into it. But as for the item, again, we're going to be going with leftovers like on the first set to allow us to stay in longer and recover some HP every turn. But for the moves, the first one we're going to be making use of is Work Up as a way of boosting our physical and special attack, but more so for the special attack boost on this set since it's a special attacking set. Now this is only a +1 boost, but it's still very beneficial on a Poliwrath set due to the fact that since Poliwrath doesn't have the greatest attacking stats, any boost that it can get would be very helpful to it. So once we have Work Up, we're going to be going with Hydro Pump as our main water type stab option. You could also potentially go with Surf or Scald for that extra chance to burn if you want some more utility on it. But if you're just going for flat out power, which is what I think you should do for a set like this, Hydro Pump is the best option even though it does have that chance to miss. But with that, we're also going to be going with Ice Beam as a way of giving us some more coverage. Having ice type attacks on water types is very common to allow them to deal with grass types, but even more so for Poliwrath because it's also weak to flying moves, which Ice Beam is super effective against as well. So it's very useful for type coverage on this set as a way to handle some Pokemon that may be wanting to come in and threaten Poliwrath out. But for our last option, or our last move for this set, we're going to be making use of Vacuum Wave. And this is really cool because Poliwrath is one of the very few Pokemon that can learn this move, and with a Work Up, having a priority fighting type special move is very, very cool. Obviously, you could go with something like Focus Blast for the fighting type stab as well on the special side, if you want to maybe get rid of Work Up for that reason. But being able to boost a priority move from the special side, which is very uncommon, is really cool for Poliwrath, and I think that is something that makes this set very awesome, just because of the fact that, first of all, you don't expect Poliwrath to be special, nor do you expect it to have a priority move like this. But overall, this set is just basically designed to turn Poliwrath into a special attacker, which is something that it can do, and even though it's kind of slow, as you saw before, it does have the defenses to take some hits, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get at least one Work Up, and if you could take out with Vacuum Wave after that, you're pretty much set to go. But wow, I cannot talk right now. That's it for this video, everyone. So as always, take care and goodbye, and thank you all for watching.